Adonai Mitchell's catch and collapse was one of those plays that will live in slow motion in Colts fans' heads for a long time. A jaw-dropping athletic feat undone by a split-second lapse in situational awareness. On paper, it was everything you want from a receiver. A contested one-hand haul, power through contact, a spin move to break free, and a race to the end zone. In reality, it ended as a touchback and a turnover because Mitchell began celebrating before he had clearly broken the plane with secure possession. It's a brutal lesson in the fundamentals that separate highlight reels from game-changing mistakes. Let's break down why this matters so much. First, the rule. A touchdown isn't awarded until the ball breaks the plane of the goal line while the player maintains possession. If a player loses control of the ball before the plane is crossed and the ball goes out the back of the end zone, the ruling is a touchback and possession swings to the defense at their 20. That's a potential 14-point swing. Instead of the offense adding points and pinning the opponent deep on the ensuing kickoff, the defense takes over with the ball already on the field. It's one of the cruelest, most unforgiving rules in the game because it turns joy into disaster in the blink of an eye. Second, the situational cost. The Colts had been cruising offensively, and that play was supposed to be a backbreaker, or at minimum, a momentum shifter. Instead, it handed the Rams not just the ball, but a psychological lift. Momentum in football is fragile. One act of celebration, one bobbled ball, can swing the tenor of a half. Coaches talk about making the other team feel it. On both sides of the ball, Mitchell's miscue did the opposite. Even if the Colts ultimately win the game, that sequence will be chewed over by coaches, scouts, and media because it exposed a preventable weakness in preparation and mental discipline. Third, the teachable fundamentals. There are 3 core lessons here that any position coach will drill into their players immediately. 1. Finish the play. The rule is simple. Continue until the whistle. Coaches have been screaming it for generations because instinct and adrenaline create these exact moments. The finish includes not only crossing the plane, but securing the football against the body, maintaining 2 hands if necessary, and falling forward if needed. 2. Ball security at the goal line. Coaching staffs emphasize the high and tight carry into the end zone for a reason. If you're about to score, your second thought after the catch should be hand placement on the ball and not theatrics. Goal line drills, gang runs, and chain-to-goal reps serve to ingrain the muscle memory that keeps the ball protected even when the player believes scoring is imminent. 3. Situational awareness. Players must know the down, the distance, the game clock, and the score at all times. That awareness isn't optional, it's a professional expectation. A veteran player's judgment in those seconds is often the difference between a good play and a costly blunder. No one is immune to the heat of the moment celebration impulse. Humans are emotional creatures, and big plays trigger instinctive joy. The job of coaching is to convert those instincts into conditioned responses that favor the team. That means repeated practice of finish drills, explicit punishments for similar errors in practice film sessions, and public reinforcement of the score first, party later culture. It also means film study that shows the team, including Mitchell, exactly what happened and how tiny mistakes compound into large negative outcomes. Coaches should not belabor the player with humiliation, but they must be exacting in correction. There's also the locker room angle. Teammates naturally rallied around Mitchell on the field after the play, offering pats and consolation. That's right, you support your teammate in the moment. But there's a difference between empathy and enabling. Teams that grow into championship contenders create environments where players hold one another accountable. A veteran presence, a wide receivers coach, a seasoned teammate, should seize this moment as a leadership opportunity. Acknowledge the pain, then pivot to a clear message about responsibility and repetitive corrective work. From a personnel and roster perspective, the immediate fallout is limited. One costly turnover in a single game rarely defines a young receiver's career, unless it becomes a pattern. What Mitchell needs to do is not apologize endlessly in the media, but demonstrate correction on the practice field and in subsequent games. Coaches track body language and response. A player who sulks or shrinks after a mistake is more likely to find his role reduced. A player who attacks drills, finishes every rep, and shows football IQ on third downs will regain trust quickly. There are also broader implications for team strategy. The Colts coaching staff must ask, were there schematic or play call choices that put Mitchell in a position where a single mishap could swing the game? Did the offensive plan rely too heavily on explosive plays instead of sustaining long drives? While the human error sits squarely with the receiver, the staff's response should include refining their emphasis on ball security in critical situations across the offense. Quarterbacks stepping through throws, backs carrying high and tight, receivers finishing with two hands when available. Finally, the psychological recovery. Public mistakes have a way of magnifying self-doubt. Mitchell will need mental resilience. Sports psychologists and veteran mentorship can be valuable here. Teach him to compartmentalize, to replace the image of the fumble with the visual of his corrective reps in practice, and to rebuild confidence through consistent, error-free performance on subsequent snaps. At the end of the day, this play is a brutal reminder of football's smallest rule: finish the play, and its biggest consequence. It's an expensive, teachable moment. For Colts fans, it hurt to watch. For Mitchell, it will be a lesson that, if internalized, could anchor a stronger professional approach moving forward. If he responds the right way with humility, focus, and improved fundamentals, this will become a footnote in his career rather than its headline. If he and the Colts fail to learn the lesson, the memory of the one that got away will follow him and the team for a long time. It was one of those plays that felt like a highlight reel destined for the morning shows, until it wasn't. Late in the third quarter against the Los Angeles Rams, Colts receiver Adonai Mitchell pulled off a sensational catch that had the entire stadium on its feet. Trailing a defender, Mitchell reached back with one hand, secured the ball, broke a tackle with a sharp spin move, and sprinted down the sideline with a clear path to the end zone. Fans began celebrating. Broadcasters started to build the moment into the narrative of the game. And then Mitchell did what players are repeatedly warned not to do. He began to celebrate before crossing the plane. The ball came loose just short of the goal line, popped out of the end zone, and rolled through the back of the end zone. Per NFL rules, the result was a touchback. The Rams gained possession at their 20-yard line. A potential game-changing touchdown turned into a sudden 10-point swing. Instead of the Colts taking the lead and momentum, Los Angeles walked away with the ball and a huge lift, and Mitchell understandably was left distraught. Teammates rushed to his side immediately after the whistle, offering pats on the back and words of comfort. Coaches and fans exchanged incredulous looks. In the NFL, celebrating before the play is dead is often called the cardinal sin of the sport, and Mitchell's mistake was an object lesson in why that reputation exists. For every spectacular individual effort, there's a tiny, crucial moment that demands focus until the whistle blows and the ball has clearly broken the plane. The play's fallout was immediate. The Rams, gifted with a turnover and a momentum boost, were able to flip the script for the rest of the quarter. The Colts sideline that had been buzzing moments earlier went quiet. The film room will now be full of repeat footage of the final few yards, an unfortunate teaching clip for younger players across the league. Mistakes like this happen at every level of football, and they're a harsh reminder of the basics. Secure the ball, finish the play, and celebrate only once the outcome is official. Veteran players preach it constantly because the cost of failing to do so can be the difference between a win and a loss. Mitchell's talent and effort on the play were undeniable. He made a phenomenal individual effort that showcased his athleticism and playmaking ability. Unfortunately, the premature celebration overshadowed all of that in the moment. For Mitchell, this will be an ugly learning experience, but not the end of his story. Coaches will stress the lesson in the film room, teammates will rally around him, and if he responds the right way, by keeping his head down, focusing on fundamentals, and letting the play finish, this one awful highlight could become a turning point in his development rather than a defining moment of the season.